we're delighted that all of you are here. I think many of you were there last night for the Inclusive Leader Awards, and it was really a really beautiful evening with a lot of people who are going to be on some of the panels and things that you're experiencing today as well. So welcome everybody. I'm Carol Carter. I'm the founder and CEO. I work with the GlobalMindEd team, with our board, with our leaders, a bunch of amazing people you'll meet. And our theme this year is on employment engines for economic mobility, but we're really going to focus on unifying, uplifting, and uniting. And our community very much values those kinds of actions. We feel like all of us can learn in this community how to transform some of the difficult things that we're experiencing during a time like this. And these are the kinds of things that we can be teaching to our emerging leaders as well. So that's why we look at what can we all agree on. We can all agree that people need good jobs. They deserve a prosperous future. We really know that our partners and our sponsors and all of you can help us close that opportunity gap and really get graduates to financial freedom and economic mobility. And we have, unfortunately, too many graduates taking a long time to get through school, incurring a lot of debt, and sometimes getting jobs out of college with their degree that are not commensurate with that degree. So this is what we're all dedicated to solving for, and that's the focus of a lot of the different sessions you'll be experiencing today. So raise your hand if it's your first time to GlobalMindEd, just so we know how many. Wow, that's a lot of people first time. So many students are here this year, and we just want you to really make the most out of every single person that you meet. All the different panelists want to meet you. There's a reception for each of you at the end of the day from 4:30 to 6 with free soft drinks. It's alcohol cash bar. But all of these people are here to meet you, to make connections, to share their wisdom with you. So these are some of the folks who are our students and our graduates. Angela Martinez is president of our Emerging Leaders, and if you weren't there last night, you'll meet her. She's right here. And she now has the technology to dial in people to her meetings from all over the U.S. and soon with our other partners, different places in the world. We also are an official initiative of the Foundation to Support the United Nations, so we have a really exciting event coming up to launch Ed Tech Week, and we'll be really going into our technology platform and having that event on Monday, October the 20th. Just thanking our major sponsors, El Pomar, Morgan Stanley. All these folks are in your program, but many of the people from these companies, and there's hundreds of companies represented on our 95 sessions, are really here because they're looking to meet talent like you. So we're really thankful to build that strong bridge with them. And this is really, for those, again, who weren't here last night, where is GlobalMindEd going? We've helped thousands of students. Out on our table is where are they now? And it's a list of all the students and all the jobs they're in of the students we've helped over the last several years. You're going to get to hear more about that with our opening panel in just a second. But this is where we're going. We're building a technology platform with some really brilliant technology folks. They're going to be doing a session right after this up in the Silver Room. And it's going to be called Demonstrate You, because it's not just about what you know, it's what you know how to do. And every employer wants to hire people who actually know how to do things and can demonstrate that they have done those things in increasingly sophisticated ways. So that's exciting, and next year we're going to have some of our tech team up here, and they'll be describing the strides that we've made in the year ahead for that, and that's going to be our big blowout. So that's our 2026, celebrating the 250th of our democracy. Now it's my pleasure to introduce an incredible panel. These are some of the people who have been involved in different ways with GlobalMindEd. Teresa Dinh was the co-founder of our Emerging Leaders 8 years ago, and she saw a need for people who are already out working to have a place where they could do fun things and they could also have professional skills built. And she really had that vision and that architecture beyond our just working with college students. Now it's really grown into something significant, and we're so proud to have her lead this session this morning. And you've met some of these other folks, but they're each going to tell their personal stories. So let's give these folks a round of applause, and we're delighted they're opening our conference. Oh, and one more really quick thing. Celeste wants me to tell everybody we've done HUVA updates because it's a big bunch of moving parts. And so if you weren't on there, she spent time, a couple hours this morning, updating the HUVA. So check those updates. It should be accurate, and we're delighted you guys are here. And welcome, Teresa and wonderful panelists.
Thanks so much, Carol. Good morning, everyone. Joining us on a Tuesday morning, especially after you were here late last night for the Exceptional Leaders Award, and congratulations again to all our amazing leaders who won awards last night. You inspire us to do a lot more than this work. And so my name is Teresa, and I'm joined here by our amazing emerging leaders, Mistie Trefry, Chawtana, and Alondra. I am just so amazed by their personal stories and their path to achieving their goals for this world and what how we want to contribute to the community. But I want to start this conversation with how everyone has a story, and that story includes a story of struggle, as well as a story of their purpose and how we want to contribute to the greater good of this world. And when Julie, Loomis, and I, about 5 years ago, founded the GlobalMindEd Emerging Leaders, we wanted to remind young professionals and students that your story of purpose matters, and our goal, our challenge in life, is to see how we can make a living while fulfilling our purpose. Not just for a lot of us in under-resourced communities and under-resourced backgrounds. A lot of our parents made a living really trying to make ends meet. And so we're the new generation, and we want to contribute to this world, but also make a living doing so. And so that is really the basis for our conversation today. We're titled From Learning to Earning. And as we're going to do a bit of introduction, each of us, including myself, and then I will ask our panelists questions that they will respond to. So first of all, an introduction to me. My story of struggle was that I was born in a very small village in Southeast Asia, Vietnam. That's not even on the map. And this was after the war when my father served and was captured into a re-education camp. And so naturally, he had to escape and seek political asylum in the United States. And throughout all this process, I learned that there are a lot of disparities, healthcare disparities in my village and disparities in one of the richest countries in America, here in the United States, and in our community, one of the largest cities in America, Denver. And so my life goal, my life purpose, and I want to contribute to the world was to not only close this very gaps for what we see as diet-based care for chronic disease management and disease prevention, but I wanted to bring people to the next level, closing this very gap for wellness and longevity. And so that's my goal. And so I went through all this whole process of, the typical education, undergrad, graduate, postgrad, and working in industry. But really, when you ask me what the secret is to my success, or where I got to be where I am now, the secret was the middle of the sandwich. And I'll explain more. Why? When my parents came here to the United States, we didn't have a lot of resources. We had less than $100. And so we didn't go to eat out very much. So when we did, they would take us to this living sandwich shop. And how many of you have had a living sandwich? Oh, then you know that it's super delicious with the pickled vegetables, the the her past day, the mother, and what his needs. So when my parents bought the sandwich, it was always cut into first. So when they told me, always down to the piece. And so, you know that the Middle East is the most nutritious and the most yummy. And so throughout my life, literally and figuratively, my parents gave me the middle of the sandwich throughout most, every aspect of life. And that gave me the confidence and the mindset that I deserve this. And so I deserve to achieve my dreams and live my purpose. And my parents were my first sponsors. I want to mention a few sponsors here who have helped me walk up the ladder to achieve my purpose. Dr. Dinh, who is a GlobalMindEd leader. She dedicated an hour of her time years ago to stop talking to me in town. When she just spent that hour to do surgery. Carol Carter. When I met Carol about 10 years ago, she immediately heard my story and she put me on the hospital. For the first time ever, I was embarrassed by my story. She empowered me to know that my story mattered. Dr. Arlen Myers, who introduced me to bioinnovation and gave me a different perspective in healthcare. Dr. P.K. Johnson, who put me on his board about a decade ago as the youngest member on the global commission. Bobby King, who was here in the room about 3.5 years ago when I was in my third trimester of pregnancy, interviewed me for one of his top positions in his team. And I got my acceptance letter the day before I gave birth. So all of these people and more. And I just want to say all of this because that's my story, but you are all, or leaders in the room, have contributed so much in ways that we remember, that we proudly have overlooked, but we remember those times when they was in the road sandwich. And so I want to now give the introduction. Pass it on to Solis.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here on this fabulous morning. Thank you, Carol, for your vision to make this vision a reality, and everybody who has supported her along the way, which you've supported hundreds, thousands of students. My name is Mistie. I hold a master's degree. I'm a high school dropout with a master's degree. Unfortunately, at the age of 16, I had to choose to leave school to help co-parent and support my younger siblings. After going back to high school, I became a non-traditional student, and I would carry that title with me. I failed at returning to school because of education gaps and poverty. So it was years later I obtained my GED and followed the path of an associate's degree, an undergraduate in business, and a master's in higher education and student affairs. I believe education should be accessible for all, and we need to do that with wraparound services, and that takes a village, it takes a community, it takes beyond college. That was the greatest takeaway actually I learned in my very first year of talking to Carol. Students will be more successful if we work together as a team. That businesses, schools, and communities all need to work together, and I saw that not only through Carol's eyes, but watching it grow throughout my time as my profession grew. I understand that economic barriers are real. We see this on campus, and I'm doing everything I can thanks to my time at GlobalMindEd to help reduce those barriers. My academic gaps are not just a gap, I feel like it's a superpower. I think that we need to embrace our stories more. My student over here has been telling me that for the last 24 hours as I talked about manners, embrace our stories. She's right. There are so many people who make a difference along the way. I call them nuggets of hope. That's what we're good at. That's what we have when we have that power to give others is nuggets of hope. So I want to say thank you all for being here. I get nervous and I'll start to chat even though I have my notes in front of me, but I want to pass the mic on to this amazing woman, Brian, who I have had the pleasure of hanging out with this morning. Yay.
Good morning. My name is Ysasaga. I've had a similar kind of never really had a home to technically consider home, was moving from like hotel to hotel and things like that. One thing led to another. I was so far from school that I ended up being held back just 2 years in elementary, and that set me kind of on the path of just kind of for self-destruction. Basically, I started getting involved with the wrong crowds and certain programs for alternative education. One day I had a principal woman in 7th grade who came and visited me. I was a straight A student, but I just missed a ton of school. I was, like I said, running the wrong crowd. And she really sat me down and put my life into perspective as to the education is the key to breaking the cycle of everything that I'm used to being seen. I am first generation high school and college graduate of my entire life. I moved here originally to pursue my degree because I lived around, I grew up in a small town in Texas and realized that nobody had it if I didn't want it. I didn't want to continue on the same path that everybody else had. I started in healthcare at the age of 17. I was a surgical technician. Did that for about 7 years, and then one day literally decided to uproot my life and move over to Colorado for more opportunity, where I truly found myself in Carroll and GlobalMindEd. They ultimately had me grounded and understanding that my full potential was way more than what I had perceived it to be. One thing led to another, and they paired with a mentor, and really just kind of opened my eyes to the industry where I changed completely into aerospace. I was paired with an engineer, and he really kind of helped with networking and everything like that. It kind of opened the door and opened my eyes to what I could truly contribute to. So now I graduated last year with my bachelor's degree, and now working on my master's degree.
And Ryan's been working for Lockheed Martin and he got offered a job his junior year.
Sorry. My full-time job offer, I was an intern for about 4.5 years, or for about 3.5 years, and I've been with Lockheed for about 4. I was fortunate enough to know exactly what I was going to be doing when I graduated, so that really helped me not stress about that gap of what am I going to do when I graduate and everything like that. So Carol and GlobalMindEd really helped me understand and get to that point in my life.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Chawtana Edwards. I like to start off by kind of grounding myself. So I am the daughter of William Edwards and Dinh and my father of the amazing Black Indigenous women who came before me. And I always tell myself I am good about this trip, I truly am. So when I was born in Oklahoma, raised in Texas, and I know my colleagues have agreed with talking about our struggles and how we got to where we are. For me, the biggest struggle growing up was facing the racism and discrimination that was projected on me. I was called my first racial slur at 8 years old in school by a peer, and many times after by peers and their parents. I was 11 years old when my parents, God bless them, took me to Dallas, Texas because we knew that they were having a KKK rally in my town. And so I say that to say all of those experiences made me realize that my purpose in life in life was bring awareness into other communities that didn't feel seen for who they truly were. So after that, got my degree in cellular biology and I in Spanish and psychology. When I was in college, I told my advisor that I was in Spanish and psychology, but I was majoring in biology, and he said, well, why would you do that? Nobody does that. Everybody minors in chemistry. And because I'm my mother's daughter, I said, because I can. And I knew that both languages and both cultures, and I truly believe the more languages you know, the more people that you can connect with. And I love learning about the physical part of the body, but also the behavioral side as well. So after I graduated, I did not know what I wanted to do. I knew maybe something in healthcare, wasn't really set on becoming a doctor. And I lived in a small town in East Texas at that point, an individual. So similar to Ryan, I was here in Colorado for economic mobility. I was able to get my first job at Global, which is a little economic center here in Colorado, and that really set me on my trajectory moving forward in my professional career. About 1 year within being here, I got posted with Carol and GlobalMindEd, and so through all that, through my connection with GlobalMindEd, being VP of programs for the changemakers, but also a health equity advisor, I've been able to really leverage that experience that I got simply as a volunteer, as well as my professional experience to now be a program director for 2 companies that focus on health equity and clinical research space. So I would, kind of close with saying that my goal, my purpose, and why I'm made is to truly be the bridge between the community and the healthcare space and healthcare system. And again, just thank you all for being here.
Buenos días, good morning everyone. My name is Alondra, my name is Ayala, and I am a recent graduate from Colorado State University, Pueblo. A little bit about me, my story begins with my parents. My parents were 2 individuals who developed in love at the age of 18 in Mexico. They fell in love, had 5 kids. When I was about 1 year old, my father made the ultimate decision to come to the United States for a better life, not just for him, but for his children and future grandchildren. So when I was about 1 year old, we came to the United States. Growing up, my parents always taught me that education is important and it will move me forward in life. So with that being said, I love education. In high school, I was involved in almost everything, never had any free time. I was the vice president of my high school, as well as being part of JRTC, the National Honor Society, and president of my Spanish club. I graduated high school with a 4.0 GPA, but even with all this, I didn't think college was for me. Being first gen, I didn't know how to submit a college application, I didn't know how to do a resume, I didn't know how to do an interview, mostly because my parents never taught me. And after I graduated high school, I went straight to the workforce. And I thought that was all I was going to do. Up until a year later, I met an amazing woman. Her name is Dakota Obregon, and she is the one who signed me up for college without me knowing. I was in a similar conference just like this. Even though I didn't want to continue my education at the time, I know that learning and growing my mind was important, so I would attend conferences. During this conference, she sat right next to me, and she started asking me questions. She's like, "Where do you live? How old are you? What was your GPA?" And I was like, "These are weird questions." But okay. As soon as she finished answering the questions, she's like, "You're enrolled to state public." I was like, what do you mean? A few days later, I got my acceptance to Colorado State University, Pueblo, and ever since that day, I have not looked back. During my time in college, I have met amazing people, like Dr. Victoria, who has stayed with me all 4 years up until graduation, and who's still with me. She's somewhere at this conference, so I'll present her to you guys in a little bit. But I also had the opportunity to meet amazing people like Carol, who invited me to my first global conference about 2 years ago as a student. It was in the United Nations, and for my university, that was a big deal. They were really excited. And so I got to meet amazing people, CEOs, I got to branch Chawtana Edwards, and I thought it was an amazing opportunity, a lifetime opportunity that I would never see again. So I cherished it with all my heart. A little bit after the next year, Carol would invite me to be a speaker. And being able to speak to all these different students and being able to relate them reminds me of how powerful my voice is. Growing up, I knew that I was different from everyone else. I wasn't the same. I was the only brown student in my AP classes, so I would always try to fit in. And going up into college, I was the same until someone told me that it's okay to be different. It's okay to stand out. It's okay to let people know who you are. I would always try to hide if that guy speaks Spanish, but now if I hear someone speak Spanish, I'll be like, "Hola, ¿cómo están?" Let's get involved. And I have taught myself to be unapologetically. And I think that's my story.
I will get to my questions. The first one is, I'm asking you to reflect back to your college years. What was the hardest part for you, going from learning to gain those skills and competencies to actually earning to use those skills and competencies to bring value to your industry and to your community? So for getting to professional success. Well, Brian.
For me, the biggest thing was realizing that getting a degree in college isn't enough. It was coming from a new state, I had to basically prove myself again in my own industry. Also, being a first generation college student, it was like navigating higher education was truly another language. For me, the biggest piece was kind of getting into the industry, getting involved, getting comfortable. I first met a girl at an event where I literally walked in and everybody had suits and I'd never worn a suit in my life. I was in jeans. I was literally running around the door when I ran into her. She kind of was like, "You come to me, we're going to show you what those are. You don't have to say anything, just come to people with me." And that was what I needed, especially when you were in the only company or one time back in society that community and that support. And somebody who gave me that belief in myself. So I would say the biggest thing for me was just realizing that you have to put more time and effort, not just getting the degrees, but putting yourself out there, building a network, and connecting with people to help kind of close that gap that universities often can't provide. Their data is like job fairs, things like that, but really just building that community and that connection and that network for yourself for the future.
Alondra, what are your thoughts?
I would say I have to agree. For me, a college student, I felt out really motivating. But it's more than that. It's about building yourself. It's about creating networks. It's about putting yourself out there. In addition to this, I would also have to say that now as a college graduate, when I'm going for a job, or looking at job resumes, I'm like, I know what that is, I'm not qualified. But the thing is that we're human. We continue learning even in a job. And that's something that I feel that all graduate students know is that it's okay to be good. They'll train you, they'll help you learn.
You're always learning. Okay. Now, I'd like to get into the topic of how GlobalMindEd and other organizations and our experiences that are similar help you get anchored professionally. Who'd like to talk? Thank you, ma'am. So I'll speak to GlobalMindEd specifically, and also this is just a message for anybody here who's in the industry out there. Invest in the next generation. That's what GlobalMindEd did for me. Again, I met Carol on a whim. I got connected with GlobalMindEd emerging leaders on a whim, and she didn't know much about me. Kind of knew my resume and said, "Hey, I want you to have a leadership role." And from taking that leadership role for 6 months, I was able to, I was given the opportunity to run at the 2023 GlobalMindEd Conference first Gen Day. And so that in itself, even just having that one experience, has helped me so much professionally when I'm going into interviews or I'm speaking to other people because of the transferable skills I'm receiving in the roles that I have GlobalMindEd. Even as an equity advisor, I kind of stepped into the space again for biotech and pharma, and they hear things like we're help equity advisors, help advise on this, we help you X, Y, and Z. And here's one way to get these one things. And again, it's taking those opportunities and connecting with organizations, even though you're not getting a paycheck. Because it's building your social capital, it's creating new experience, right? And I was able to tie my education into what I was doing. It was also through GlobalMindEd and being
conversations around other young professionals. I'm a Christian student as well, Christian college graduate. Nobody in my family has ever got a master's degree. Being around my peers, I said to myself, like, I think I can go for it. And now I'm finishing up a master's in public health. So again, finding those spaces, utilizing those organizations and communities to build the kind of skills that you've gotten from school will really help me professionally and to bring all of that to the local social capital. Excellent.
The question was, how do GlobalMindEd and other organizations and similar experiences help you get grounded professionally?
I would kind of reiterate that they're really helping develop skills, connecting you with people who are either like-minded or have gone through a similar path. And that's also one of the universities that I was going through. I think that you can really provide a lot of support systems, teams, and organizations who kind of help get your foot in the door and make sure that you wear that well trained and develop those personal skills and things like that. So, GlobalMindEd also does a really good job of finding a mentor who's gone through the same path or working the same kind of jobs that you're kind of thinking about. So it's kind of opening the doors to build and networking as a community who can support you. Because a lot of people realize that it can be a support, maybe religion is a support system, but it's also about who you have to do that correctly. So it's that's really key to what helped me personally.
Thank you so much for your advice to the students in grad school. We also have a lot of peers and college presidents, employers, sponsors in this room. And I'd like to ask, first, Mistie, what do you need for them to build the boats to get grants launched successfully?
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, the partnerships are crucial between employers, members of the community, and higher education institutions. One of the things I think that will strengthen both outcomes and student experience is micro-internships. Capstone projects are great, but they're usually not out for that last semester. For doing micro-internships, they can not only build their resume with skill sets, but they can also apply the learning that's happening in the classroom to the work and vice versa, and keeping them more ahead of the market. I'm also a big believer that financial literacy is key, not just for first-gen students, but for all students. Only 26 states require that financial literacy be taught in high school. This is up 10 from 14 from about 10 years ago. So I'm excited to see we're making some headway there. I think financial literacy is the key to success, not just in the academics, but beyond academics. I didn't grow up learning budget, we did food stamps, and there's always some month of money. But I learned budget as an adult, and forecast is my favorite word, forecasting. Forecasting budgets are essential, and to really have that understanding. Because you never want debt to hold you back from your dream job. And so I'm a big believer in financial literacy. Colleges have done an excellent job of providing students with access to services, mental health, disability, and food pantries. I really applaud that. Towards the end of my graduate program, I saw food pantries popping up all over, and it is crucial to support that for all students. I work with student parents, and I'm seeing them every day utilizing that, so thank you. But we do have a really big barrier called childcare. And it's not just a barrier for student parents, it's a barrier for our communities. When we increase access to childcare, we're increasing access to innovation. We're not pulling people out of the workforce or reducing their opportunities. We're helping them excel, and their children are also being exposed to more opportunities as well with quality childcare. I know that issue has childcare available in their library as long as students are in the library. and they're contributing to the adult learners through their adult learning and veteran services. I've been to those orientations with some of my parents and seen how they have changed the script for making it a non-traditional first-gen student feel more comfortable in their academics. So I'm a big believer in providing those spaces. One of the things I discovered in my academics was faculty, even in grad school, were not really accustomed to working with non-traditional students. So I would definitely encourage, we have some really great trainings around a lot of areas, and a lot of different, understanding a lot of different cultures of students, these non-traditional students, understanding, and I'm talking about like age, there are individuals who are taking care of loved ones right now, high school, during high school, but understanding the complexities that a non-traditional student have to face. And, yeah, I just, employers, as well, working with those individuals. Most importantly, there's a lot of great collaboration contributes among all of us to the student success.
Thanks, Misty. If I could interject here that a lot of recommendations that you provided remind me of what we call in healthcare health-related social needs, social determinants of health, where essentially you look at Maslow's hierarchy or pyramid of needs, and everything at the very bottom of the pyramid. Your housing, your food, your employment, and really like transportation, really basic needs. And we all need to meet that according to psychology before moving up the pyramid, which will help us have a mindset and an energy to actually self-actualize and feel like we belong to a certain community, feel like we have energy to live towards our purpose and to how we want to contribute to the world. And I'm so glad that you mentioned the child care, the food, the financial literacy, because we need to make sure that we have food every day in the house to live in before we move forward in our lives and actually open up a love and breathe and learn and get educated. And those are companies who contribute in a greater way. And in healthcare, those basic needs account for the majority of our healthcare outcomes. Their goal is only about 20%. And social determinants of health, about 50% or more. And I'm so thrilled that we made that advice. Now I'm going to ask the same question to someone else. Alondra, would you like to?
Yeah, I think with everything I say, I agree. It's just that we're not just students. There's a mixture of students. For example, at my university, we have traditional, non-traditional, international, full-time, part-time, our athletics, our students for our work study. All of our students have a mixture of identity, and some things that I wish others and our higher leaders would know is that there's a lot on us. Some of us might be first gen, some of us might be working a job to be able to afford our tuition. Some of us are doing our volunteer hours to be able to keep our scholarships. And on top of that, we're also doing our education. Some of us might be taking 5 classes, I know a student who took 8, which props to them, I can do that. And on top of that, we are still expected to maintain our grades, but we need to remember that we're also human beings. We need time to decompress, we need time to, for ourselves, to make sure that we're mentally well as well. One thing for my presidency at our University Fellow that we emphasize the most is mental health. It's something that's not really talked about, especially in my culture. In our Hispanic culture, you're supposed to always be busy. If you're not, you're lazy. And it's important to get rid of those stigmas. And it's important for us to make sure that we are reciprocated before anyone else. Kind of like how the life would say, before you help anyone else, help yourself. How are you going to help someone else put on their mask if you're passed out? And so yeah, just remember, even though we are students, we're also human beings. We need time to also grow as well, as I would say. No one has their future set in stone. We need time to learn, to grow.
Thank you. Now I'm going to ask each of you, what is your advice to students at this conference? And how will you be a global-minded leader who empowers others and inspires others as your life